Brazilian flag waved, the green lights are on, we are racing in Sao Paulo, and a big lock-up on the outside from Brendan Hartley, runs out very wide indeed. He's going to come in front of Mike Conway, and there may be a question about unsafe rejoin there, but he is in second place with Porsche and Cadillac, third and fourth. And then the first of the Hertz team, Jota's car, the second battling with the number 6 Porsche and the 51 Ferrari looking to come down the inside. It was a relatively clean start in the GT field as well. And it is the Iron Dames who lead from Manthey Pure Racing.
Big start there from Will Stevens. He's up to 5th from 7th, went wheel to wheel with one of the Ferraris in that seething pack through turns 1, 2 and 3. We're away and relatively safely, 6 hours to go.
No dramas in turn 1, remarkable. We're saying to some of the drivers this morning, if you finish lap 1 with 4 wheels and a nose, you're doing a pretty decent job, but there was very little contact here in the tight and twisty corner 10. Reeling off the corner, down the hill they plunge, through 11 and then corner 12, much slower than you think. As you start to crest the rise, it's a little bit like Tosa in Imola. Tight turn and then foot on the boards here, all the way down to the 50-metre board before you get into the Estosena. Now the coal tires on the opening lap, they might be breathing off the throttle a little in turn 14, and then streaming down the hill into turn 1 at the end of lap 1. A little swap of positions between the two Alpine and a big looping spin. There's the first drama for Paul-Luc Chatin. Mick Schumacher went inside him. He got a little up on the dirty side of the track and looped it round under braking. So he will drop right to the tail of the field. Well, there's Darren Leung, who started the red BMW, the 31 car, right in the thick of the action. It's the Iron Dames out front, then Manthey Pure Racing, then the 2 United Autosports car, James Cossingham, Josh Cahill in those McLarens, and hanging on to 5th place, Darren Leung. The BMW drivers not fancying their chances of keeping their tyres alive for a double stint. So everybody in LMGT3 is worried, as the hypercar teams are, Graham, about the high tyre degradation here.
Yeah, Paul-Luc Chatin has rejoined the race, but way down in the 33rd position, and will now have to make his way through the majority of the LMGT3 pack before he can get back onto the rear of the hypercar train. Tota 1-2, Porsche Penske Motorsport 3, Cadillac 4, then the number 12 Hertz Team Joda car, Will Stevens.
Well, we're on board with the 82 TF Sport Corvette. Just saw Tom van Rompuy a little further up the order. That was the view of Hiroshi Koizumi. There's van Rompuy in the first of the black and yellow cars, right up behind the AF Corsa Ferrari of François Heriot. Tom van Rompuy, first LMGT3 pole sitter in the history of the World Endurance Championship. Now, problems for number 8 Toyota. You can see he's already dropped away from Mike Conway, and Brendan Hartley complaining that he's got problems under acceleration. You do not need that on lap 2 of the race. You don't need it on lap 102 of the race, but it's going to be a long 6 hours if the Toyota is not doing what it did ought to.
Well, we'll have a quick look at his sector times. Reasonably okay at the moment in sector 1 for Brendan Hartley.
3/10 down.
Yeah.
So that's not okay on brand new tyres.
Well, let's keep an eye. Sector 2 is where, if he's got a problem with acceleration, we're going to see it.
Yeah, it was quicker than his first lap, but whether he's got a problem with traction or whether it's maybe the hybrid drive not doing quite what it should do. We're in the battle with Earl Bamber. Right behind him, Will Stevens, and Lawrence Vantor is just behind, just ahead of them.
He's on similar pace in that challenging sector 2 to the lead car. Could just be that it's taken him a lap or so to get the knock off the tyres that he had suffered in the run-off at turn 1.
That is quite possible. Still 1-2 for Toyota. There is now a 2.2 second gap behind Mike Conway to Brendan Hartley, with Fred McAveeky right behind him. Then the blue-nosed caddy of Earl Bamber. Behind him, Will Stevens in gold. Lawrence Vantor, red and white for Porsche Penske Motorsport. That's the second of the Porsches, third of the Porsches in the top half dozen. 2 Ferraris, 7th and 8th. That's where they qualified. And then the 38 Hertz Team Jota car, Phil Hansen, ahead of Robert Kubica in the 3rd Ferrari, the AF Corsa car that did not make it into Hyperpole.
Make note, by the way, of a good start as well from another runners. It's the number 11 Isotta Fraschini picked up 4 places in that melee to start the race, so a good start from Jean Carvenet, and Isotta Fraschini making it very clear the gap between them and the rest is closing race by race. Back with LMGT3 now, mixed pack here, Ferrari, BMW, Corvette.
Yeah, Darren Leung, this is his view. Francois Heriot right in front in that silver and red Ferrari. And right behind him, he's got Tom van Rompuy looking up the inside. And there's a challenge from Ian James as well on Ahmed El Harti in the blue, black and red, the M Sport liveried BMW. That's the 46 car that he shares with Valentino Rossi. So Ian James in the Harter Racing Aston, attacking Ahmed El Harti, and El Harti dropping away a little bit from the orange and black Porsche. That's the car of Yasser Shaheen. Those are our Le Mans winners. So number 8 Toyota now accelerating properly. They changed the engine map, so you wonder whether he had not switched it over correctly, or it had not switched correctly from a going from the pits to the grid setting
to race mode.
Yeah. Exactly so.
6 minutes into this race, 6 hours to come.
Now there's some interesting tyre strategies going on, and we will talk a lot about this because the high tyre degradation, the high tyre energy of this circuit, lots of direction changes which really abuse the sidewall of the tyre, means that using the hard compound tyre is going to be a big part of the equation. You see a lot of these cars with the yellow sidewall, that's the medium. Both Toyotas were on yellows all round. Some of the cars have got yellows on the left-hand side, the medium tyre, and red sidewall hards on the right-hand side. Because it's an anti-clockwise track, it's the right-hand side that does more of the work here. So the Toyota's jumping away very quickly from everybody else.
All sorts of reasons.
You see the Ferrari on hards on the right, mediums on the left.
Both Toyotas starting on new sets of medium tyres here, and that's not been the strategy for everybody. Looking further down the data we have, the 51 Ferrari, quite right, it's new mediums on the left-hand side, it is new hards on the right. When you look at the number 2 Cadillac, it is the tyres I presume they used in qualifying, mediums on the left and new hards on the right.
Yeah, that's very likely to be the case. And we don't have the same split of options yet in LMGT3. Everybody is using the slick, that's what it is. And they do have a larger allocation because this is such a high energy and high degradation circuit. As I said earlier, not enough to put 4 new tyres on at every stop, but there will be enough to maybe have right sides. And because there's no difference between the compound, you will likely see a lot